Alright, welcome everybody to episode 1 of Tazzelenghe. Right now we are going to start exploring wines from California. As some of you guys already know, I have a pretty big bias against wines from California, so my goal in this tasting series is to taste a selection of wines that are under $20, all from the state of California. So our first selection is a 3 different whites. So we have a 2023 Justin Sauvignon Blanc from the Central Coast. We have a Wente Vineyards from the Central Coast as well, and this is a Riesling, also 2021. And then we have a Pine Ridge Chennin Blanc Viognier blend. This one, the winery is in Napa and Stag's Leap, but this wine is actually just California because it's a blend of multiple appellations. So we're going to get right into it. For this first wine, we are going to try Sauvignon Blanc. So we can always pour more in here. No, chintzy, right? Yeah. So really, the goal of this tasting is we'll give it a taste. I'll try to give an honest opinion about the wine. Again, I don't think that I'll come into this too biased because I did select these wines, but let's give it a taste. So, Sauvignon Blanc.
I know, I've seen this baby burn.
Yeah, so right off the bat, it's pretty light. Like, there's not a ton going on the nose. It's pretty neutral. I did a little research on this particular wine, and they did say that they do whole cluster pressing, so maybe there's like a slight bit of skin contact. You kind of see the color has a little bit of a yellow hue to it, so there's a little bit of color. But this is all done in stainless. There's no oak influence on it. It's really meant to be like an easy drinking young style. And you can kind of tell like this is not a lot to this, but it's dry. You guys would say it's dry, right?
It's dry.
Dry and acidic.
Yeah, the acid's really nice. It's clocking in at like 13.5% alcohol, so not super ripe, but also not picked super early. So natural acidity is good there.
You can tell how we are.
Yeah, so I mean, to start off the tasting, like, it's definitely not sweet or cloying or like it's a well-made wine.
Mm-hmm. All these wines aren't chill.
Yeah, so just as to highlight that when we taste wines, we generally taste them at warmer temperatures for whites than you would drink them at normally. And really the reason for that is you get more flavor, you get more aromatics when you smell it, as well as flavor. So really our plan here is to taste through these wines, we'll throw them into the fridge, and then as we eat dinner, we'll pull them out at a cooler temperature and drink them at that. But this gives us the ability to really get everything from it. So first one clocked in at $11.99, so for the price,
Not bad.
I think it's not bad. This isn't something that,
It's fine.
yeah, I wouldn't age it or anything, but if somebody poured me a glass, I wouldn't pour it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pour this into there. As I said, I'm not gonna pour it out, but
Just pour it right into here.
Do you guys have anything to pour? No?
I was like,
no?
Okay,
You
pour it
want
right
me-
into
you want me
here.
to pour it in there?
Yeah, you can pour it right into here.
Yeah.
Oh no. Nothing goes to waste.
You can smell and taste the apple though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it does have like some like apple and some citrus notes, but it's not super complex.
I tasted something that reminded me of like Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know if it was like the apple pie or.
Oh.
That could be. It is apricot because I do taste like real like mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the second
Oh,
one.
I was like,
It's
oh,
out
it
of
tastes
order.
like coconut.
We'll just wait.
Now
That's
I
the
know,
next
I'm
one.
like, Yeah, I can taste the
Maybe like
it's the apples for
cranberry.
sure.
Maybe like cranberry, like sweet potato casserole is kind of gross.
Mmm.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the good thing with this is that it pairs with a lot of stuff too. Like the acidity works in the favor of the wine, so because it's not like a really intense flavor profile on there and it has acid, it can pair with a lot of different dishes. I think the first thing that comes to mind is like anything that's spicy too. It would pair well with spice because it kind of tempers that spice a little bit.
I mean, for $12, it'd be.
Yeah.
The lemon and the Granny Smith apple you can taste. They're really ripe, or not ripe, but like not ripe yet.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. The opposite of ripe.
Underripe.
Underripe.
All right, so we are going to move on. This next one is Wente. This is also from the same region of the Central Coast.
I'd like you to know that the last one, because I was going by order on the sheet. I was like, man, this Riesling really tastes like a Sauvignon Blanc. So as a blind tasting, that was honestly
This is why he's mixing up the order. So
I would have been great if you were like, what kind of wine is this? I've been like Sauvignon Blanc, and then someone did like Riesling. I'm like, I don't know anything, but I really did feel like I was totally off my game. I'm like, this tastes just like a Sauvignon, but it's a Riesling.
So this one also clocks in at $11.99. Or this is $12.99. So super value wines here.
Yeah.
The interesting thing when I was looking at Wente was that it's sustainability is a huge thing for them, and so they're like one of the few California sustainable wines.
Yeah.
They do a bunch of stuff in the vineyard as well for sustainability as far as farming and also like water retention and like solar panels and stuff like that. So I thought it was really cool. Both these wineries tend to be a little bit bigger. So Justin, I couldn't get a solid number of the cases that they produce, but it was somewhere north of 200,000 cases. And then Wente family was about 325,000. So from like a size, like they're considered like kind of on the upper, like the larger winery size. Most wineries produce less than 5,000 cases, just for perspective.
So,
what's NLE stand for?
9-liter equivalent. So, like sometimes you'll see people bottling in like this size, which is a 750 ml. Magnum, which is a double bottle. The split is like a half bottle. So, a way to sort of normalize for all the different sizes of packaging is they normally just do in 9-liter equivalent, because regardless of the amount of bottles, it's 9 liters in one case. So that's an easy way for them to just
So you divide that by 9 and kind of get the cases? No.
So like a normal like case like with this would be 12 bottles.
Okay.
If you're having magnums, it's 6 bottles. Splits might not be 9 liters in a case just because they're kind of an odd size. But in general, how the industry would calculate cases is based on like 9 liters in a case.
Okay.
They just lifted the law about how big the bottles have to be. Like you can go whatever law is, like you decide those. Is what you meant by it.
Yeah. So the TTB in the U.S. Controls like all the regulations on labels, what types of bottles you can use.
They lifted size, so they're like, get ready for some bigger wines.
Well, and one of the things too is like you see like more cans coming out. And if you notice, like a normal like can of like Coca-Cola is like 355 milliliters, but a can of wine will be 375 because 355 wasn't one of the designated sizes. So it was really hard for a lot of these companies that were coming out with cans because not a lot of can manufacturers in the U.S. made 355 milliliter size cans. So then you have to all of a sudden procure cans that are kind of an odd size that's not normal. So then the cost of goods was a lot higher. But now it's becoming more of a norm to have canned wine. So you do have more producers. Still, compared to Coca-Cola, like that's millions and millions of cans every year. So that 355 mils is a lot easier. So interesting little fact.
Well, now they changed the law, so apparently they're supposed to have they're like get ready for some bigger wines in your grocery store.
Hey, there you go.
Well, you were the business side of the wine versus just like you were telling me, but what was your
On the manufacturing side, like the
Right.
winemaking side.
Yes,
it smells like rubber to me.
it smells like gasoline.
Yeah, which is always weird
It
when
smells
I
like-
first started wine, and he's like, "Well, doesn't it smell like gas or rubber?" And I'm like, Wait a minute, it does.
If I go deeper,
That's a
it's
weird
great.
thing to think of. And what makes it taste like that, honey, or smell like that, rather? Not
So-
smell.
The thought is that it's a compound called like TEN, which is like a breakdown of beta carotene. I think there's not a 100% connection to like what exactly it is, but you're right. Riesling is not all Riesling, but a lot of Riesling and a lot of like what's deemed as higher quality Riesling has this kind of rubber, diesel, kerosene sort of nose to it, which sounds really off-putting. But I don't know. For me, that's what I go for. So yeah, when I smell this and I kind of get like that as the primary characteristics of the wine, I get kind of excited, especially at $12.99. So we'll see.
It always looks the same color to me too. It's like a dirtier
Uh-huh.
white, and I always know it's gonna have that smell. But it tastes good. It's almost like it's just
So
like a deep,
dirty
it's like a deep.
Riesling.
Yeah, I love a dirty Riesling.
You love a dirty
I love
Riesling.
Riesling, but it's like I know it's gonna have a deep grape kind of flavor to it. A lot of times when it's that gasoline, it's not differently. It tastes like more lychee, but that fresh coconut, I don't get that.
I get a lot of apricot. I see that in there.
So the interesting thing is, so this one actually had more specs on it, like 12% alcohol, which makes sense for Riesling. Generally has like high acid, lower alcohol. The pH is 3.15, which is a pretty low pH. Granted, I've seen some Rieslings at like 2.9 pH. For context, water's 7, so
Yeah.
most wines fall between 3 and 4. Once it gets above 4, then your risk for like microbial spoilage increases pretty drastically. But Riesling is definitely really low pH. But when you taste it, it doesn't taste sweet, but it also doesn't taste super acidic. Which to me, they didn't say how much sugar was left. Like you stopped the fermentation early.
Yeah.
So my guess is that they left some residual sugar, but not enough to make it taste sweet. So that's always the thing with Riesling, is trying to find that balance. I had a winemaker describe to me, it's kind of like a triangle, and like in order to have a good Riesling, you have to be kind of right in that middle, where one side is your acidity, one side is your sweetness, and one side is your body. So if you just have acid and there's no sugar, then you end up with this body that's like water, and it's just like drinking like acidic water, and that's not very fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want something that's super sweet, and you also don't want something that tastes like you're like drinking antifreeze, because it's like so thick. And so that always has stuck with me, of like to kind of gauge the quality of a Riesling, it kind of has to fit in that triangle of texture, sweetness, acidity. I think this is a little bit lacking on acidity, but besides that, like
I
it's
actually like it. Yeah, I kind of like that it is. And again, the two empties.
She's not funny.
No, she's
She's
not.
not either.
Look at it. Oh yeah,
You just have to pace with
no.
your partner.
Just name.
I definitely
People
get like some
understand
pear
this.
on there, like it.
Yeah.
Like,
I had some pears and apricot.
Yes, it is. We had it said fresh coconut. I don't. I get the lychee.
yeah,
I
I
didn't
don't
get
get
the
the
coconut.
I don't get the coconut. But yeah, the pear almost seems like baked pear,
Yeah.
where it's like
Love them.
it's
But it
a
was
little bit more.
interesting. On the other one, I got green apple more than I did on this one.
Yeah, much more. This one I get more.
Do you want me to pour this in?
Yeah,
There we go.
I'm the dump bucket.
Instead of the spit bucket, Jess will take it.
We're gonna be requested on your videos all the time.
Uh-huh. No bad habits.
No bad habits
So
here.
I would say, like, so far the first two, for having such negative bias towards California wines,
Okay.
are they my favorite wines? No, but for the price, like, there's a lot of bang for your buck right there. So we'll see. We got one more wine. This
So
is
excited.
this is the smallest of the three wineries. They do about 40,000 cases. I started my wine career in Oregon, and Archery Summit was a winery that I was very familiar with. Really, really awesome wines. Actually, the people there were super cool every time I would come visit. But Pine Ridge was started by the same person that started Archery Summit.
Oh.
So Gary Andrews started Pine Ridge, saw a bunch of potential in Oregon, came up, started Archery Summit. It has since been sold, and Gary Andrews has since passed away. However, his winemaking is pretty high tier, top notch stuff. So
I want to say this is the one that is out of Lucas. This is Pine Ridge.
yeah, so they do a lot of Pine Ridge does a lot of big reds like Cab and Merlot.
Chennin.
But yeah, so they also do a sparkling. I saw. I did not see that at the store, but yeah. So this is 80% Chennin Blanc, and then 20% Viognier.
It's my favorite wine.
You want me to top you off?
Yeah. Don't be cheesy.
There you go.
That way I can hang with you on these and stuff.
Yeah. So I'd be remiss if I didn't let you guys know that this is kind of a unique combination. So Viognier you generally would see in the Rhone Valley. You often see it co-fermented with Syrah because it stabilizes the color and kind of lifts aromatics. It doesn't have a lot of acidity, but it has a really pretty floral characteristics. And then Chenin Blanc is from the Loire Valley originally, so both French varieties. And Chenin Blanc is kind of known for lots of acidity, kind of this appley, sometimes they say wet wool thing going on. So it's a good blend of a really aromatic grape with something that has nice mix of body and acidity.
So this is the liquid syrup because it was the double.
Mm-hmm.
And that we went to Olivia's and
Oh, nice.
absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
We didn't think we would. We walked in and this is the one.
And again,
A bargain.
$11.99.
I was I didn't realize. I mean, the glass was not expensive. That is amazing because I love Chenin Blanc and it was this one.
And for anybody that's in the state of Florida or Central Florida, all of these wines were found at Lucan's, so they are easily accessible and available. And if you have a Lucan's by you, I would guess that someplace like Total Wine would probably have most of them. I try to choose larger producers, so if you see it and you want to find it on a shelf, you can. Maybe not the vintage, but
The only thing I would say, if somebody has a sweeter palate, these would definitely not suit that. These two are more acidic, whereas this one doesn't have acid, I felt, compared to the other two.
which
So
is
it's kind of
interesting.
sad because Riesling usually does, and I feel like the acidity was missing, which actually Riesling is my favorite, one of my favorites. This was my least favorite out of the three.
Funny thing is, the funny thing is, I usually like a lower acid, but for some reason when this one is super cold, it tastes so much less. Because I have this exact one,
Yes.
cold, and it's a very different when it's cold. So understanding that
Oh,
they're at a different temperature,
Yes.
the flavor that we're getting is way more intense than
Correct.
I do when I get it cold. Because this is one of my favorite wines. And
Yeah.
Well, and it's also a good indicator of the quality of the wine too, because
Yeah.
think about coffee. Like any temperature extreme kind of makes it difficult for you to taste it. So I think of coffee and cheap beer. Like if you have a Coors Light and you drink it warm, it's really hard to drink. But if it's ice cold, you're fine.
Yeah.
You go to a diner and they have really low quality coffee. It's piping hot. As soon as it gets to room temperature, you're like, oh man, I need to pour this out.
Yeah.
So when we're able to taste wines at room temperature, you can not only pick up more stuff, but you can also identify where there's certain wines that are kind of off-putting that you would need to drink really cold in order to be able to sort of oversee the flaws in the wine.
yeah. That's so funny. It's this one.
To me, I get a little white peach on it, and then a little bit of quince as well. But I think that the acid's really nice.
I swear.
A little bit of quince?
Well, what is a quince, by the way?
So quince, you generally wouldn't eat as just the fruit because it's really bitter, but you would make it into a jam, and it becomes a really tart jam. But it's a type of tree fruit.
What's a stone fruit?
So stone fruits are they have hard pits in them. So if you think of a
Peach.
Oh,
apricot, a
okay.
peach,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. So just another name for that pit is a stone. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't even There you go. Hit the peach on there. But yeah, so you see in the tasting notes it says orange blossom, honeysuckle, ginger. All three of those notes are really traditional notes that you get from like a Viognier. So even at 20% of the blend, the aromatics can really be dominant, which is probably why it's so low.
And when you say aromatics, what do you mean?
What you smell.
You've had 2 bottles of wine.
Yeah, the aromatics is what you smell.
Now it's kind of funny, as this has gone through, I get the taste of like what marijuana smells like.
Okay. So like kind of like some like skunkiness? Is that what
But
you mean?
a pleasurable like skunkiness, you know, like not bad in any way, but just like, you know, if you smell like marijuana somewhere, it's just like has a little bit of that.
Like it's a little herbal, like
Or grassy. You smell a little bit more like outside. Like
That's
that outdoor,
comforting.
like grassy.
yeah. So I mean, like
But
I
I
can
didn't
see
get that till
Yeah.
just kind of now on that.
Could have been the big chug you took.
He's gonna ask me to leave. He's like, I'm trying to do something serious here.
No.
Or it could have been the joint you smoked earlier. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I will say, so now it makes sense. There's some wines that like I'll get them, and I absolutely the first couple sips I love them, and then it's probably because I'm sitting there and they get warmer, and as I do, I'm like, why is this wine tasting nastier as I go? And it's probably the temperature change in it, and I'm like, this is crappy wine that needs to be completely frozen for me to enjoy this.
Yeah.
And then as I don't like it.
Yeah, well, and also one of the things is as wine is in your glass and more oxygen is incorporated with the wine, it will evolve. I mean, some wines won't change much, but some, especially red wines, will change a lot. Like you think like the big like Bordeaux, Barolo, like Cabs. You might get it in a glass and you're like, man, I don't really smell a lot. And then as it incorporates more oxygen over time, you start to see it change, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it will evolve in the glass. And white wine does that too, especially if it's more reductive and like kind of like sulfury smelling. That's generally indicative of like reduction, and with oxygen, some of that reduction will blow off and kind of change, and then you'll get more fruit.
So we had that happen with a red wine we opened one night for dinner. We hated it right out of the bottle, and then I was like, let's decant it, and then we did, and we let it sit there, and it became delicious. But I didn't know, so why don't we decant white wine to do the same thing if some of that?
Oh, you can, you totally can. Yeah, I mean,
It's not
so
like
like,
normal practice you see
if-
they decant others.
so this first one, the Sauvignon Blanc, that was like super light. If you decant it, any aromatics that are in the wine are just gonna blow off, because a lot of the stuff that you're smelling is volatile, meaning like it's coming off the wine just naturally, like the vapor pressure. So if you decant it and it all blows off, then there's not going to be a lot. Like you'll be smelling, you're like, man, this doesn't smell like anything, and then you taste it and it doesn't really taste like a lot. So I wouldn't recommend decanting something like this. But the goal of all of this is to try new wines, is to be open to new things, to be willing to talk about it. You don't have to be an expert. A lot of people feel like you see this list of tasting notes, so you got to pick everything out. Everybody's palate's different. Everybody's experience with flavors are different. So what I might pick up, you might not have a lot of familiarity with it. So it's hard for you to pick it up because you've never made that connection. So tasting is a great way to do that. And tasting with others is a great way to pick up things, because somebody might say, hey, I smell this, I taste this, you go back to it, and then you can start to pick that up too.
And no wine was wasted in this tasting.
Most
Have a friend.
important.
So
Yeah.
I would have seen these glasses and think they're red wine glasses.
They are red wine glasses.
Okay, because you had mentioned a bigger glass as being white wine, and I was like, no, it's a red
No,
wine. So
there's
then I
some-
thought, oh, these are.
So
No, that night they said they were out of white wine glasses, so they were using the bigger ones.
Okay.
And that's
So
why
you
it's
can
white
totally
glasses
drink
tonight.
whatever you want out of these. These originally were designed by Riedel, the glass manufacturer, for Oregon Pinot Noir. California had a big issue with it and threw a big stink, and so they changed the name just to Pinot Noir glass, because they also make Pinot. But originally they were made specifically for Oregon Pinot Noir. If you like read about Riedel, they have pages and pages of like documents saying this particular glass is designed for this particular wine. My thought is something that has a big bowl like this opens it up so that you can get a lot of the aromatics, because you could really get in there and smell a lot. When you have a small glass, even like you see like champagne flutes and there's not a lot there, it's hard to get a lot from those wines because there's not a lot of area. So what I recommend is get a glass that you like, get a glass that like you feel comfortable with, and also if you could have a little bit of surface area, it's always easier to
I
smell.
like it. I mean,
I'm just,
they
I'm
feel
gonna,
good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
throw
like
this
the
out
whole
here.
bowl.
If Josephina would like to sponsor any of these videos, we would gladly use your glasses, any of them, any Josephinas would be very welcome. Just Josephinas.
And just a side note, this glass actually holds an entire bottle of wine.
Awesome.
What?
Yeah.
So Jess will take the whole.
I don't believe him.
This
Let's
will
test.
hold a
Yeah,
whole
so this
bottle.
holds, it just right to the brim will hold an entire bottle.
Then you can put it in the fridge
But,
to cool it for
yeah.
That is a fun fact.
All right, so thank you guys for joining us for our first tasting. I hope to be back for some more tastings. And
This is great.
as always, go out, try new wine. There's no one right way. Thank you.